All right, and we are going into picks and bans for game two. The Dank Horse versus the Empty String. We have Warwick being taken away by blue side. I believe that's because Gargalor is a Warwick main, so it's going to force him out to a much more uncomfortable champion. We have Ari being taken away, probably targeted at Tenubs. He's a very strong mid laner that likes to focus on mid lane, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of, yep, there's LeBlanc, to expect multiple bans against Nubs's, AP assassin-based playstyle in the mid lane. I also see Fiddles and Wukong taken away by Team Dank Horse, probably as well targeted to eliminate the number of junglers that Empty String has available to them. Let's see. I would expect to see some other assassin to be taken away here by Empty String. No, going to be taking away the Jinx. Um, I believe that's targeted against, I think CLQ, but I'm not sure. All right, and again, we have the Sejuani first pick. Um, like we saw in the first game of the tournament, she's a really strong jungler, capable of a lot of CC, a lot of crowd control, a lot of lockdown. One other thing to note is Echo is up in this game and is available for the tournament. So I'm curious to see if either of these teams will pick him up, as well as to see if we will see him in any of these casted games this weekend. Um, he's a very, very fun, bouncy champion. Um, Purple side is going to be hovering the Morgana. Does give a little bit of that protection with Black Shield against the CC that Sejuani offers. Is a fairly flexible pick. You can play her as support, play her as mid lane, play her as top lane. You have a lot of options, with that kind of champion. Um, Also, anyone who is watching the stream, I would like to keep tabs on the latency. So I do have the chat window for the YouTube open off on a second monitor. So if you notice anything, please feel free to say something in that chat, um, and I'll see if there's any problems I can try and fix that. Otherwise, hopefully this stream will go a lot better. Um, Let's see. Cyber is going to be picking up the Caitlyn, gives him a bit safer of a lane, especially with the wide skill variety. You can't always rely on what your support is going to be doing. It's a little bit unsure. Once you get down into low gold and silver, things get a little weird. But Caitlyn makes it very safe, very easy to get that farm up, and still has that late game carry potential. However, on blue side for the Dank Horse, we do see Kalista and Sion being locked in. Kalista a little bit more dangerous in the lane, but is capable of getting a lot of objective control with those spears, being able to do a lot of AoE damage if she can get the rune-ons, as well as some good capability for tank killing. Sion as well, probably going to be locked in for the top lane. Provides a really strong front line. So we're going to be getting another one of those Wombo style games where you have Sion Sejuani wanting to wait for Empty String to group up and just pounce on that. So we'll see if they're able to execute that kind of Wombo. For the purple side, we are going to see an Aatrox getting locked in. Aatrox is Gnar. So we see Gnar getting locked in probably for Schaefer of Chaos, who's been one to play a bit more of that top lane lately. So we're going to get to see a lot of harass coming out from him early game, but then being able to transition into that late game behemoth that transforming and able to deal a lot of damage in those late game fights, providing a lot of that CC. Morgana, the Gnar ultimate, Nunu ultimate provides a lot of AoE damage for Team Empty String, which will let them be able to get a lot of those bloodbath fights as well. Let's see what Dank Horse. GP is Fizz. Okay. Um, so we get Fizz and Vladimir locked in. which is going to get, more of that AoE from... Oh, interesting. This isn't going to be a Scion on the top lane. This is going to be a Scion support. So this is something that I've played around with a little bit, and it's very entertaining. Has a little trouble transitioning because you don't get all of the health from last hits. You're able to get some because you get the Relic Shield. The E has fairly low mana, moderate cooldown, so it lets you get a fair amount of poke at range. You get the CC from the stun knockup. You get the charge. One thing that could be interesting is since Kalista and Scion, there's a little known ult interaction there that's rather hilarious. That I hope we can see this game is where if Scion starts ulting and Kalista ults, it waits until Scion reaches the end of his charge, so Scion could completely bulldoze down a lane back into the base, and if Kalista hits the ult at the beginning, as soon as Scion lands, gets sucked right back up into Kalista. So, like I said, we did have a couple of proxy picks there, so hopefully we'll be able to get back into this. But I'd like to talk about the comps for a little bit right now. So, from the blue side, we have Sejuani. Bot lane, we have that Kalista, Scion, Fizz in the mid lane, Vladimir in the top. Couple of observations I have about that is that's going to be a fairly beefy and short range team. You're the one range champion you have on it is Kalista, and she's not known for being one of the longer range ADCs. So they're going to need to be very careful about how they pick up their fights. They're not going to be able to poke down or siege around objectives, but if they can get fights in the jungle, that is where the Dank Horse is really going to shine. It gives them a lot of AoE, a lot of CC. You have the Scion ult, the Sejuani ult, the fish. Vladimir has his AoE damage. So if Dank Horse can get those fights inside of the jungle, they should do fairly well. Then on the other side, we have, let's see, the Caitlyn, Morgana, Gnar, Nunu, and Lissandra. So they have a bit more of the range there. They have some of the poke from the Gnar, some of the poke from the Caitlyn. Some lockdown in terms of Nunu, Lissandra. So if they can get some choke point control, they'll be able to do some of the team fighting in the jungle. But because of the Caitlyn and the CC lockdown that blue side has, they're going to be a lot better off pushing out towards sieges. The Caitlyn range makes it very safe to get auto attacks onto tower, especially with the low wave clear that we're going to be seeing from the blue side. Fizz is going to have a hard time doing it. Kalista will be able to take out one or two at a time. Vladimir is going to be one of the big sources of that. Unfortunately, his best wave clear is going to require him to get a little bit closer, which is going to then be in range of the Morgana bindings, potentially getting snared in by Lissandra. So those are to me the big things to watch out for this game. Win condition wise, Kalista, Kalista or Fizz, if either of those get fed, is going to make it very, very difficult for Empty String. Kalista, is particularly strong as a tank killer, which is what makes her really, really liked in this meta right now. Going to be able to tear through, the Morgana or Nunu, and in that frontline capacity fairly quickly. Whereas the Fizz is going to have that possibility of being able to go in deep and assassinate the Caitlyn. So if either of those get ahead, look for Dank Horse to be wanting to close this out. Empty String, on the other hand, they have a really strong late game team. So they're going to be wanting to play for that farm game, get that Caitlyn fed, get the Lissandra and Gnar ahead, and those will give them a lot better siege into the late game. In the mid game, they'll definitely struggle as Caitlyn hits the power trough and Fizz and Kalista start hitting some of their spikes. But so a lot of this, I think, for Empty String is going to come down to whether or not Cyber can get ahead in lane. And then the other lanes, well, yes, they're important. It's not going to be carried on their backs. I feel a lot of this is going to end up being on Cyber Sage, and how well he can do with the Caitlyn. with the Morgana and the Nunu to support him. It's not quite that full protect the Kog'Maw style comp, but there's definitely a couple elements here. So we will see how that goes. Let's see, other big things to think about. The pick potential from Empty String is fairly strong. The Morgana binding, will last for at least a couple seconds, depending on how far that's leveled up. You have the Lissandra ultimate, which will lock someone down for a couple seconds. Gnar's capability if he is transformed, he has both the slam and the Gnar. Which can deal quite a bit of damage. Caitlyn has her traps, but those are less used for the pick capability, more just setting up around the areas you're wanting to fight in. So Dank Horse definitely going to have to be careful around how they ward. It's going to be dangerous to go into the enemy jungle. Fortunately, with Sion being the one with the Sightstone, he does have the option of ulting out, as well as Kalista, if she's nearby, can yank him to safety. But Dank Horse, I'm really hoping to see a lot of warning coming out of them, because that's going to make it easier for, what we talked about earlier, of them being able to get set up in the jungle such that they will be able to get the team fights as they're rotating between towers, fight in those areas where it's a bit more constrained, where it's going to be a lot easier for Sejuani to land the bola, for Sion to land the charge, and for the fish to hit a lot of different people. If you don't have the area that you could then walk around, like in the lane or river, that can then get into safety to attack without having to worry about getting hit up. So hopefully Dank Horse will be able to do that. Empty String, of course, ward's always really good, really strong. But the warding strategy that I would like to see from Empty String, rather than just trying to get the aggressive rotation, is trying to set up vision around specific objectives. So rather than focusing for being able to transition between objectives, focus on being able to declare, all right, we're going for Dragon next. Use the long range poke capability and the front line that they have in order to just push for a single thing at a time, because they're not trying to look to catch Dank Horse between objectives. They're trying to just push through with the excellent wave clear that Lissandra and Caitlyn have, push out and siege onto towers. So lane matchups. So top lane, we have the Vladimir versus the Lissandra, or no, versus the Gnar. So Gnar, I think, is going to have a bit of an advantage from the poking perspective early, until Vlad can start to get his Q leveled up and get some of the stain from that. Fortunately, while Nunu, does have an easy time with the sustain in the jungle, does take a little bit of time and may or may not be able to do that early gank. Could be effective depending on the timing of where the Gnar bar's at and how far pushed up Vladimir is. But Alazun's definitely should be trying to go for that farm lane. Mid lane, I would expect a little bit more of a bloodbath. You have Fizz, who's really good at bouncing around over the skill shots that Lissandra has. So Lissandra, Stealth Lord's going to be trying to look to get a little bit of farm, but I have the Nubs is the highest ranked person on the blue team. Stealth Lord less so. So I would imagine that Nubs is going to be trying to get a lot of kill pressure early, particularly trying to get any kind of jungle help. Lissandra does have an escape, depending on when she levels it. And if that isn't leveled, I would really, really like to see a Sejuani gank in early, because Sejuani has the CC, Fizz has the damage. I definitely see some strong kill potential in the mid lane for the Fizz. Bot lane, Caitlyn's definitely going to have an advantage early, has much longer range over the Kalista, is going to be able to do a lot of that poking out, especially with the Morgana. She can lay down the fields of ooze that will just suck away at Kalista and Sion's health. Sion, unfortunately, he has fairly good all-in potential, but that really doesn't start hitting until he can get to level 3 or 4. Once he can start getting the stun, once he has the shield to help mitigate the damage coming in, as well as, the E to slow and make that a little bit easier. So mid lane, or top lane, I expect to go fairly even. Mid lane should be going for Dank Horse, and bot lane should be going for Empty String. We are loaded in. Early game, like to see what will end up happening. Given that we're looking at a weekend tournament, not expecting any kind of lane swaps or any of those kinds of advanced plays coming out of this. But it wouldn't surprise me if we do get some kind of invade. Let's see. I don't really... Well, Nubs likes to fight, but he doesn't usually like to call for all of the invades. It looks like teams are pinging out for possible 5-point defenses. Nunu, a little late getting out of the gate there. But it does look like the teams are going to be moving into defensive positions. Sith is going to notice both the Sejuani and Kalista. Doesn't drop a ward, so it is viable for Dank Horse to invade in. I don't think they necessarily realize it, though. One ward is going to spawn out the Fizz. Empty String is on the bot side waiting for it. And Gnar getting a nice deep ward, so one of the things I really like about when you can get this ward in is it gets a lot of vision to your jungler for knowing where your enemy jungler is going to be starting, which can give you a pretty good idea of what their route's going to be. So Sejuani is not going to get spotted out here, so they should have. So Empty String should have a good idea. Sejuani's going to be starting here. Knowing Sejuani, you know, she doesn't really like to gank early, farm too fast. So it means that the one, you know, you do have some threat about the mid lane. Lets you know where exactly you can roam between your lanes, you know, whether or not you can go for the crab here. You know, Nunu's really good at pulling out some of those jungle camps with, you know, the additional power of the Chomp. So it means that it's a lot safer for him to say go for the crab because, you know, if Sejuani comes, he can just chomp it and walk away. Oh, we are going to get a little bit of the lane swap where Nubs is going to be going top against Shaper, and Alazun is going to be going mid against Lissandra. Oh, speaking of which, should probably get these all sorted out. There we go. So nothing too major coming out early game. Cyber is able to get the level 2 first, and you know, with that range, with that Morgana binding, able to deal a lot of damage. You know, that's going to be very difficult for Kalista and Sion to get return damage onto this bot lane. Both junglers opting to stay in their jungle, get both the buff camps. Nothing too major happening just yet. Nubs is definitely liking to trade. Unfortunately, those minions are gonna deal some work. Shaper able to get most of a freeze set up, although that's gonna be but not anymore. I like this Sejuani positioning for a gank. Sejuani should be able to notice that this wave is going to be pushing out for Shaper. So in about a minute or so's time, Shaper is going to be very vulnerable for the Sejuani to jump onto him. However, Nunu coming in, going for the counter gank, although not knowing about the Sejuani is just waiting there in time. It's going to be coming down close, ends up going over to Fizz, going to flash away. Shaper's following, manages to get the retribution kill. And might be able to finish off the Sejuani, but looks like with the dash, should be... No, the house or the rock is going to take him down. Shaper coming up with an early 2-0. Little low on the farm, but is otherwise doing incredibly well. One thing I do... So, and Shaper doing something that's really important here. So we saw earlier that his lane was already pushing. He gets the kills and takes the time in order to shove it in. Because now that it's under turret, all of this is going to end up dying. The wave is going to meet over on this side because these minions will possibly get stopped here to attack. Looks like Nubs might be able to clear it out in time. Nope, not quite. So now that these are grouped up, they're going to be slamming onto the first minion, and this wave is now going to be slowly pushing towards Shaper's tower, which means it's going to be easier for him to freeze. He's going to be safer in lane and still able to get the farm while losing minimum numbers from that wave. So, lane dynamic things to think about. Bot lane, Sejuani's coming in. They're just having some really good presence in this game. Forces both of the flashes from Empty String. Kalista tried to flash to get a little more, but unable to convert that. Cyber is fairly low, but as long as Sejuani isn't here, can still farm fairly safely, simply because of the low all-in potential that Kalista and Sion have early game. You know, a lot of the power that those two will be bringing to bear will come in the mid game. However, good trade out by Kalista, using the jump to get in with range while knowing the timing of that Cyber's going for CS, can't quite attack back. So, good plays, Kalista. Good plays. So they do know about trying to go in. Fizz is coming down. Is gonna land the ultimate, gonna try and take on the Nunu. While he is fairly tanky, doesn't quite have all of the items stacked just yet, and is gonna take him down. Gnar doing his best, but oh, one hit away. Should be able to get that auto. Alright, so goes even in the top lane. Whereas Stealth, oh, I missed that, was able to get a solo kill onto the Vladimir. Looks like ult was used while Fool was down, able to deal a lot of the damage there. Didn't need the ignite, oh, didn't have an ignite, so good job, Lissandra. Okay, so we see that Empty String is starting to pull a little bit ahead. A lot of it's going to be on the Gnar, so what I would like to see is the Gnar using the teleport advantage, get this shoved in, get a ward down on bot, and see so that Shaper can use his advantage to help some of the other lanes as well, not just continuing to snowball in lane. You know, Gnar has, you know, it's difficult, but if you can get it right, the teleport presence of a fully Gnar-barred Gnar can be incredibly strong for turning a fight in the bot lane. And you know, Fizz has to rely on the ult in order to stop it, so it's going to be fairly easy for the Shaper to be able to teleport when those openings there. It's just realizing when those openings are there based on where the Gnar bar is at. Alazun finally able to start hitting some of the stride with the sustain, using the level 4Q and the Shaper. We do have a fight coming out in the top lane. Nubs dealing quite a bit of damage. Able to take that Gnar down. Bot lane, a little bit of a fight. Was able to pull Sion out before he can go down. But with the Blood Boil onto Caitlyn, and the tower being that low, that should be falling here fairly shortly. Oh, Binding does hit. Might be able to fall in. Trap is just a little bit too late. Gargalor tries to flash in, but Sion is able to just slowly walk out. But this does mean that Empty String does have position on Dragon. I'm not sure if they're going to go ahead and start it. But with both the Nunu and the Bloodblood Caitlyn, alright, they are going to go for it. This should be difficult for Dank Force to contest. You know, knocking the bot lane fairly low, and the Sejuani is a little bit out of position. Could try, but nope, is going to elect to just let that go over to Nunu. It's fairly safe. It's very difficult to steal from a Nunu that's directly on a neutral monster, because he can time the smite and the consume at the same time to deal a fairly large burst damage, you know, about 900 points of burst at this point. So now Shaper's got a few more items, a little more magic resist, is able to do a little bit better with nubs. But nothing's gonna be happening there. It's like Empty String, good rotation up, bringing Fortibear fairly early on the mid tower. And see, this is what I was hoping to see in Champ Select, is you have the Caitlyn using her long range to stand behind the minions to deal auto attack damage onto the towers. It's very difficult, you know, because there's very little of the wave clear from Dank Force to be able to clear that out. They are getting some return damage, but Caitlyn is doing a very good job. You know, still in a little bit of the early game power spike with the range. Everyone doesn't quite have the damage yet to be able to jump in and assassinate her for that fight. Alright, and I think there's sufficiently enough that we'll just go ahead and call it that. So top lane, Nubs is able to get a couple of those kills, mostly onto the Nunu when those have happened, but it's fairly even. Let's see. Ooh, we just picked up Sandra with the Luden's Echo. So we've been seeing a lot of Luden's Echoes recently as more first pick, and a lot of that comes down to, I feel, the burst potential. I really like what it can do, like on champions where you don't require the mana as much, because it's, you know, an extra 150 point burst on top of being a 120 AP item with mobility, and that mobility is really important in the early game for being able to transition between lanes, you know, get ganks off, and keep pressure throughout the map. So on Lissandra, it's a little bit weird. You know, a lot of the times you'll see the Zhonya's simply because of the, you know, engage potential, being able to go in, ult yourself, Zhonya's yourself, which also makes it a lot nicer for doing some of those tower dives. But this does give her a lot more bully potential, being able to shove in the wave. And it looks like Spellforce is able to put that to good use. Good dodge out by Shaper, avoids the fish. However, Nubs still looking to brawl since there is no Narbar. Pops the oh, what's that called? Hyper, that's what it is. And Shaper is able to do a lot of kiting onto Nubs. Doesn't look like, oh, Fizz able to playful Trickster out. And the Rock, not enough to finish him off, but Shaper will be able to get some more of this farm, get a little bit caught back up. So objective-wise, the one objective that Empty String does have left in these outers is that top. So I'd like to see them start pushing out that mid lane and rotate up to top, help Gnar push in, you know, this really low Fizz. Simply because, you know, pushing into an inner, it's very scary. Unless you have some of that vision down. And quite frankly, it's not worth taking some of those risks when you have the late game carry potential of the Caitlyn. But instead, opting to use this, take this as a buy window. Vladimir and Stein are going to try and get some damage down. They should be able to deal some. You know, Nunu, while he has great single target clear, doesn't necessarily have a lot of the wave clear, but Lissandra's here. Finish that before much damage can be dealt to tower. Goes wide, which means that they shouldn't be able to follow. Scion's going to be trying to go in onto the Shaper, and good timing on that, able to get him just as the Gnar expires, Shaper is able to use just a little bit of the free time in order to gnar everyone away, which should help him escape. Or he's going to go for the kill, gets the Hyper proc onto Fizz, but Sion is able to finish up. Is a little bit of an advantage over towards Dank Horse, simply because they do get that assist goal. Granted, it is onto a support, but Sion is someone that scales incredibly well with items. However, since two are committed up top, it is leaving mid lane open for Cyber to use his incredibly long range, get that turret down. A good disengage binding from Morgana is going to make it very difficult to follow up, and all three of them incredibly low. You know, if Vlad was able to get, you know, Flash Tides pool underneath them, that could have very quickly become a triple kill for him. But good job to Empty String, played that out really well. So we do see Dragon coming up in 30 seconds. Neither team really has much vision set up for it, which could make contesting it fairly difficult. You know, Empty String is ahead 4K, so it's going to be a lot safer for them, especially as a pick comp. You know, roaming in together, if a fight does break out, you know, it's probably going to be in the river. They're probably going to be able to pick someone off. You know, the one thing that Dank Horse might be able to do is if they roam together. However, they are completely out of position for this. I'm not sure if they realize the timings or not, which may be why they're out. But if they do, I'd really hope that, since given where they are, that they would go to push for something else. You know, look for that top lane, push out the middle lane, and try and get some of those objectives, because that's where a lot of the gold for our Empty String is coming from. Is they've managed to get some really strong objective control this game. Now we're able to get some good trading. Sion's going to come and try and get a little more pressure, especially now that the Gnar is leaving. Sejuani's going to be following Morgana. Might be able to help him out with the... Yep, there's the Black Shield. Might be a little bit early, since that wasn't going to be hitting anyways. But this, I feel, is a telling sign when Dank Horse not wanting to engage, even when they have the 3v2. And, you know, they have the ward here, so it's very unlikely that Nunu would be coming up from the side. But, you know, I guess there is vision paths that do make it dangerous, which is probably why, you know, not wanting to make that call. This is the importance of warding, is recognizing, or to be able to recognize that you do have advantage, you do have that 3v2, and it is safe to go in. You know, it might be a little bit risky because you're behind, but, you know, that's some of the things that you have to take. And here we have a really good collapse by Empty String. Able to just obliterate the Kalista. Fizz is going to be trying to deal some damage under tower. Sith is going to... Oh, gets the execute. No one was able to quite get the damage. Sejuani going to be able to prevent the Gnar from going deep onto the Fizz. Good turnaround by Dank Horse, able to bring their members in, use the AoE of the fighting under the tower, able to deal quite a bit of damage, but Cyber Sage using the range to really good advantage, able to get a lot of the kills here to claim that up. Ends up making it a 2 for 4 in the extended fight, which really is only 1 since Morgana got the execute. So good disengage there by Cyber Sage, not wanting to get stuck in the fight, able to keep auto attacking continuously, which, you know, Dank Horse, they had great AoE under the turret. They were able to get most of it down, and if they were a little more even, they probably would have been able to wipe Empty String there, but just not quite enough damage. And it looks like Empty String is pulled ahead by 6k. We have Baron in 1 minute. I don't expect any teams to be going for it. You know, this early in the game, it can be very risky. It takes, you know, Baron deals a lot of damage and it takes a lot of beating. So I wouldn't expect any teams to go for that just yet. Empty String is doing a really good job sieging down these turrets. The one set that they do still have up is this top lane. So I'd like to see them starting to transition to poke out the top lane soon. Yep, and they've managed to good rotational calls by Empty String are able to shut this out. Man, they managed to get two. Unfortunately, it's so this is the siege comp we're talking about. Is, you know, Caitlyn with the Blood Boil has a lot of that tower killing push, able to get a first inhibitor tower 20 minutes into the game. That's going to get a lot of pressure onto Dank Horse because they can't leave this open, because any one of Empty String could come in, could push that down, could push that out. And since it is the top side, Baron hasn't quite become an objective yet, but it is going to make the third dragon a lot easier for Empty String to go and pick up.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
And Blue able to pick up a turret view, good side lane management. It's a fairly heavy wave coming in. Fortunately, Cyber's going to be able to pick that up. Being 6-0, you know, that's going to get him either further ahead. It's going to bring that, you know, 3-item power spike where Caitlyn really starts to shine even further, you know, even closer to the future. So 1400 right now. Big item that he's going to be looking for is the 2300 Last Whisper. Simply because that's going to help shred through the front line, you know, and the front line hasn't even been able to build up that armor. Ooh, Caitlyn possibly out of position. But, oh, good wombo from Team Dank Horse. You know, this is that power of fighting in the jungles, being able to use the knock-up of Kalista, use the fist follow-up for that, catch someone grouped and do a lot of damage. This should be at least the inner turret. Death timers are still fairly low, so they shouldn't be able to get the inhibitor, especially with both Nunu and Caitlyn. You know, Caitlyn providing a fair amount of AoE wave clear with her Q. Gnar going in hard onto Vladimir is going to be able to take him down. And Gnar does have this open inhibitor that he will be able to just put some really strong pressure towards. Does have unknown where the rest of the team is, but he's about to get that, so Gnar will know where 4 of the team are, so Gnar should know that he can safely go for that inhibitor. Kalista is managing to secure the kill. Gnar coming in for team fight, although it looks like everyone's looking to just disengage. I'm not sure how I feel about that teleport. Doesn't really get a whole lot, especially when you have, you know, if you can get an inhib 23 minutes into the game, that adds a lot of pressure. You know, in one of the big things that teleport can get you, one of the things you want to be using, is using it for advantages for getting objectives. You know, since the dragon had already gone down, there was less advantage for him to teleport in. Now, does manage to get a good pickup kill there onto Nubs. They're going in deep, trying to get a lot of fight, you know, trying to abuse the 7k advantage that they have. Caitlyn not able to quite get attacks down, you know, knowing that there's still a lot of abilities up left on the Dank Horse side. Makes it very scary to try and come in and start out of attacking, you know, when it just would take one volley to take you down. So, still, Dank Horse managing to pull a little bit back into the game, managing to get their first dragon, so give them a little more AD and fighting power when it comes to some of these the future fights with the extra AD and AP of the first dragon. But you know, they're definitely pushed back on the ropes. The top inhibitor is still exposed. Fortunately, for them, you know, Gnar teleported away, was not able to drop that. And I definitely think that could have been taken there. But let's see, moving 25 minutes into the game, Baron definitely was becoming a possibility. So I'd hope to see Empty String starting to position, get some of that visibility around that. You know, especially with a 7-0 3-item Caitlyn, she's hit her late game power spike. You know, not completely all the way, but you know, 3 items is that big tipping point for her, where she'll be able to just continuously auto attack and just destroy that Baron. So they are able to push in, start the siege up on this mid tower. You know, Caitlyn using that long range is just shredding that down. Good AoE. Unfortunately, that Nunu is nicely positioned forward, able to absorb so much of the damage, while the Caitlyn is able to just keep on auto-attacking from that back line. Managing to get a 2-for-1 trade is going to make this a lot easier. Top lane is slow pushing for Empty String. And with the Caitlyn range and a 4v3, they're able to get a lot of damage down. I'm guessing in the next wave they'll be able to finish that tower off. I misread that from the minimap. It does look like that is going to be bouncing back, but Caitlyn able to get the kill onto Fizz is going to make this a lot easier. However, Sion and Sejuani coming back up. Gnar going deep, but is transforming. Gnar's into the inhibitor, taking out Sion. And this should be the first inhibitor of the game. And able to continue that fight. And they do have the top inhibitor exposed. They are pinging that out. So this should be a 2 inhibs for Empty String. Cassandra barely able to get out. Kalista trying to bounce around, but just being so far behind that Caitlyn is just able to completely bully that out. And with 2 inhibitors down, this is going to become a very difficult game for Dank Horse. Looks like they're going to just be heading straight for the Baron. So right now, Dank Horse does have, since they do see it with the ward, they do have a small window of being able to contest here because the supers haven't quite reached their base. But the heavy damage of Caitlyn and a little bit of delay of follow-up means that this Baron should be going over. Yep, there it is. Nubs might be going for a fight, but it's too little too late. Not going to be able to get out of there, and Empty String deciding they've gotten enough. They have enough gold. It's time to stop. We have a 13-0 Caitlyn in this game. Able to just straight up buy a Bloodthirster. Oh, never mind. Gonna be changing that out for something else. Blade of the Ruined King. So, Caitlyn, tons of damage coming out from her. It's going to be of the utmost importance if Dank Horse wants to be able to do anything to take that Caitlyn out. But, you know, Caitlyn has really great protection. She has the Nunu to be able to do that ultimate slow, makes it so it's that much more difficult for Dank Horse to get in on the Caitlyn. The one thing is if Nubs is able to do some damage, but he's built a little bit defensively, you know, with the Zhonya's, with the Lich Bane. We'll be able to do some damage, but probably won't be enough to do the full burst, especially with the Morgana shield able to prevent some of the knockup as well as some of that magic damage. And Sion, as support Sion's going to have a very difficult time getting to that back line, especially, you know, with as strong of a front line that Empty String does have. So they are pushing with the Baron minions up onto the last tower. The Shark is going to go on. Caitlyn is going to be taken out, but not after until after killing Nubs. Cassandra coming in and able to do a lot of cleanup damage with the AoE. And 4 members of Empty String are still alive with a ace onto Dank Horse and super minions streaming into the base. With 15 seconds out, but this should be game. And in round 2, Empty String will take the victory. Good game, and I will see you all in round 3.
team's inhibitor is respawning soon.
All right, welcome back. We are now going into round 3. We'll be shoutcasting the top 2 teams right now. On the blue side is Empty String. On the red side is Team Patience. We've seen both of these teams being played before. So this is the 2-0 match round 3. Whoever wins this one will get a solid advantage going into the 4th and final round for being declared the winner. As they will be likely having to play against one of the weaker teams as well, given we're trying to avoid repeats. Okay, so bans coming out. We have Udyr, Nautilus, and Talent banned for the blue side. Warwick, Jinx, and Caitlyn banned for the red side. The Patience bans are pretty easy to explain. Gargalor is pretty restrained. He's a Warwick main, so they're trying to hope to push him off to a weaker jungler, as well as for Cyber Sage to be on less of a late game carry of ADC, so that Patience they like going into the late games. In the past few games, they've gone to 50 minutes, so hoping to be able to not let Cyber just turn up on this late game monster. Udyr and Nautilus. Udyr, I believe, is targeted against Hater. Nautilus is against Darius, who's really a big fan of the Nautilus, both in the support and we've seen him also in the top role. And then Talon, I believe, is against, I believe it's Elio as mid lane for them. Might have been the top lane. But so fairly reasonable bans. We see the Maokai getting picked up for probably Shaper in the top lane. And then we see the probably bot lane coming in of Morgana and Severe. Morgana is really nice, is capable as a flex pick. Also really good at helping keep the Severe especially protected. We've seen in the earlier game, Mosey occasionally getting a little bit out of position, and being able to have that spell shield can help protect against any kind of CC, make it easier for Severe to get back into the back line. So we do have Nami and Fiddlesticks being locked in. We have a lot of AoE magic damage coming from the blue team. You have the Fiddlesticks ult, the Maokai ult, the Nami ult, all of those able to deal large amounts of AoE damage. And then especially with the Nami having a lot of that AoE CC, Fiddles and Maokai as well. A little bit of CC, less of the whole combo, but still very respectable amounts of magic damage coming from Team Empty String. I see big things that I'm curious about, because we see one of the things I really am liking about the Empty String team comp is that they have the really hard engage from the Maokai, from the possible Nami bubbles landing, but then they also have really good disengage from that as well. Maokai can toss up the saplings, make it harder to engage onto that team, as well as Nami's ultimate is really good at just like shoving down a tunnel some area. All right, so Yours is just let me know that Teemo is actually a Gragas being locked in for the purple side. So you get to see that as a really strong jungler right now. Has lots of that AoE control that we've seen before. So that'll probably be played by Hater in the jungle. See, we have Tristana and Katarina being hovered. I liked the tower pushing capabilities of that Tristana, as well as the early game power, I think, of the Nami Tristana. Switching over to Vayne. Less tower killing, but a lot more of that brutal fighting. So Empty String have a really strong threat composition here. They have the Vayne, Taric Azari. Okay, so we're gonna get this remade here in a moment with lots of repicks. But I want to talk about the Vayne and Katarina picks here for a little bit. Is both of them are incredibly capable and strong hyper carries that are capable of dealing a lot of damage if stuff gets out of position. So, early game, Vayne could have a little bit of trouble against Severe, um, simply due to the shorter range and the strong pushing capability of that bot lane. But given that, Sage is one of the best players on the blue team, really hoping to see, some interesting plays and possibly some Vayne spotting. And the Ahri ban. That's too funny. And this is why you don't ban the A champ straight away. Just doesn't work out for you. Okay, so we're getting back into it. Actually banning some correct champions this time. Couple other things that I am really curious to see from this Vayne Katarina play is how well that Empty String is going to be able to protect those champions, as well as how well um, Patience is going to be able to lock those down. The big threats that you have coming from Empty String is that very squishy Vayne, the very squishy Katarina, and the very squishy Fiddlesticks that are fairly short range and like to mix it up. But having that Maokai ultimate on top of it will help make it a little bit easier. They have the pushback from that, the bubble, the wave. So there's some decent CC coming in from this Empty String team. But on the other side, Patience does have some good execute capability. You have the Morgana snare to stop any of them coming in their tracks. The Ahri charm, the Thresh hook. As well as the Gragas knockaway. So there's a lot of CC that can deal with this Bane, this Katarina. But they have that cleanup potential. So it'd be interesting to see how they can time joining into those fights. So how each of these teams I think is going to be winning. For Empty String, it's pretty straightforward. You have a big or mid-game power spike with the Vayne and Katarina. They have a lot of power there for team fights. If those two can get ahead, they have the capability to easily ace the team, clean it up, chase it down, and push in, get inhibitors in that mid-game. On Patience, on the other hand, they're going to be looking for a bit more of the team fight, heavy push based sorts of comps. They have the Severe, the Ahri, Gragas, Morgana. All of them are really good at pushing down waves and dealing with those kinds of fights around turrets. So they have a little bit more of the scaling, in terms of the Ahri, the Severe, not quite the complete hyper game, but once you've reached that late point, Ahri's going to be able to completely assassinate a Vayne or Katarina if they get caught out of position, as well as Gragas is going to be just get completely tanky. So that to me is the big win conditions of this. As for where teams are going to be wanting to fight, with the Fiddlesticks, with the Maokai, and the Vayne loving all of the walls, I feel like blue team's going to want to get at least some of the fights, at least in the river, in the jungle. It could get a little bit hairy with some of the AoE abilities coming out from Team Patience, makes it a little bit scarier for the Vayne, the Katarina, so they'd want to hang back for that. But that's where a lot of the AoE of the Maokai, Nami, Fiddlestick shines. I do have to admit, I'm not as. I think it's going to be really interesting. Some of those hyper carry picks for Team Patience, but it feels a little bit weird with that. Specifically, the Vayne pick with the rest of the team is going to make some of those fights a little bit difficult. But if anyone could pull it off, given this weekend tournament, it's going to be Cyber Sage. To talk a little bit more about Team Patience. I'm really hoping that these guys can do a lot more of the fighting in the jungle as well. They have a really strong front line from the Thresh, Gragas, and then the Morgana being able to go in, ult, and Zhonya's. is going to make it very difficult for uh, Empty String to push past a lot of these choke points. We've seen before that Severe and Ari are capable of shoving off a lot of damage if they can get protected. So we'll see if Ari is able to maybe get any of those assassinations on the squishy carries of Empty String. If Mosey's able to keep behind the tank line, let that just push forward and keep auto attacking there. And yeah, it should be interesting to see how these teams go at it. Let's see, other big things to keep note. So we have fairly standard summoners. We have the ignites in the mid lane. So both of these mid laners, they're looking for kills. They're looking to fight. I would hope to see some kind of mid lane aggression around there because both of those are going to be very volatile. And if one of them can start to get ahead, start push ahead of the other, it could definitely easily snowball into that lane. But the other thing to consider is you do have the varied skill levels of this weekend tournament, and possibly wanting to get even more onto your best player on the team. So trying to focus either top lane for Patience, try and get Yarius ahead, get him doing really well, or try and get Cyber Sage ahead, as the team captains being the highest rated ones on the team. Regardless, it should be pretty interesting. We are in the game. All right, so early games. I don't feel like Empty String has a particularly strong level 1 fight, mostly because you're looking at a Morgana, looking at a Thresh on Team Patience, and both of those are incredibly good at picking out one member of the enemy team, locking them down for that several seconds, which is enough for an absolute deletion. So we do see Patience is going to be going in for an evade, but Empty String is responding with a 5-point defense. However, they haven't seen it yet. Sistar is just waiting in the wings and be coming around momentarily. Looks like they are just going to be playing it patiently for now, hoping to have someone walk into them rather than having to do the initiate. It's a lot easier to crowd control someone if they're walking towards you and don't see you, rather than having to go around the corner. So Sistar will be spotted out, will spot their entire team. However, he is having to walk around the corner. Does burn the flash, but will be able to escape. But this does give Team Patience a good bit of extra knowledge on what's going to be happening for the early jungle pathic for Empty String.
Minions has spawned.
So Fiddlesticks definitely likes starting on the blue side. This is fairly easy to guess. The mana sustain gets him is pretty nice. And they do manage to prevent Maokai from starting an extra camp. He does like to do that. It's really easy for some top laners, particularly Maokai, to get that because they have the extra damage. And yeah, so... But instead, Shaper gets the lane first, is going to start farming this up. Oh, I need to get my camps all in order. There we go. Should make this a little bit easier to see. Bot lane's going fairly evenly. Let's see how level 2 burst works out. Cyber's able to make some good trades onto Mosey. So and part of that is just knowing the distances of knowing, Mosey wants to go in for that CS and attacking him right as he hits that CS, which means that, the attacks in the air, there's that cooldown timer happening. So damage can't be traded back, and you get that extra damage for free. So really good play there by Cyber, taking advantage of the positioning of that. Good Hook manages to get a tower shot, but given the early extra aggression by Cyber Sage, that's not going to do anything for it. So, see, looks like most of these are going to be just going for the farm. So Gragas has already gone back, got the Chilling Smite. So hopefully he should be going for his red, going in for a lane gank. He should be able to see that top is going to be bouncing soon. So, however, Yars is backing, so never mind, that's not going to be viable. But mid lane is pushed up, so in Katarina early game doesn't deal as well with the ganks. Same with Ahri, they don't really have a lot of the mobility yet. You know, Katarina doesn't have the extra trinkets for doing the ward hopping. Although, truthfully, the best that he'd want to get out of those kinds of ganks would be to get those summoners, make it easier to come back. Nami will be getting flashback soon. Yeah, in another minute or so. So bot lane is potentially, but Cyber is incredibly far ahead on Mosey, which is going to make that very difficult to gank the extra level. Fortunately, hasn't had a chance to go back and buy, so there's going to be some window there. Looks like Gragas is going to be looking at coming in mid. However, this is starting to push out for Elio, so it's going to be a bit harder to gank that. Instead, opting for the crab, but Fiddles is going to miss that entirely. It's playing for the safe play and just getting the Gromp. Keep farming up until he can come in at 6. You know, the Fiddle ultimate is really where the strongest ganks come in from him. You know, he can get some of the stuff early, but it's going to require some seriously strong pressure from the lane. Whereas that ultimate, if you can get it from surprise, deals a lot of damage. It's definitely something that you want to be worrying about. So Cyber continuing to get really strong trades out against Mosey. Getting a 25 CS lead this early is gonna snowball this lane pretty hard. It's gonna become very difficult once Vayne goes back for that first buy to do any kind of damage here. So it'll be a couple levels up. She'll be able to, with 25 CS, that's most of an item up as well. And just 6 minutes into the game is leading to a significant advantage in this bot lane. Fortunately, the rest of the lanes are even. Binding does not connect, which lets Katarina just walk away. Good attempt on Yarius. He was able to get the lane shoved completely in. When that happens, you have a decent window where you can roam to other lanes, try and get ganks. Use the advantage that you have to get pressure elsewhere without risking losing much in your lane. Fiddle's not quite 6 yet. Need probably 2 more camps in order to hit that. Then we should expect for a surprise Fiddle party. Not party, that's sad. Party is definitely the best Fiddle starts to get. So coming back to mid lane, looks like Patience is able to start setting up. Gragas is going to be getting some vision. Unfortunately, the crabs are down, or the raptor's down, so he's not going to be able to get it there. But Cat being pushed up, he's confident now that the Morgana's gone. He is going to get caught out. Good Shinpo out from Stealth Lord. He's able to walk to safely. Yarius trying to go for the aggressive flash, but I was a little too cocky there. There's very little chance of hitting the Katarina, especially being under tower. It's going to be very difficult to dive that when you're that far away and you've already consumed a lot of your movement-based abilities. However, it does manage to make it back at top in time in order to pick up the CS. So top lane CS is fairly even, mid lane CS very even, jungle CS very even, bot lane Cyber Sage is absolutely destroying. Up 40 CS now, still hasn't gone back, which is why I don't think he's been able to convert any of it to kill. Keeping it completely shoved out under tower. Oh, Katarina able to get a kill onto Ahri. Let's go back and watch that. So Ahri, thinking she can do some stuff, gets a bunch of damage out, but Katarina just able to do a little bit more. Ahri not quite able to hit all of her abilities. Good play, Kat. So now mid lane and bot lane are going to be pushing heavily for Team Empty String. Alright, so things that I'm wanting to start keeping an eye out for. So Vayne has managed to go back. She's got her Bilgewater Cutlass. And Lane is pushed out. So Severe has to be very careful because, you know, Vayne has the freeze here. So Severe either has to break it, or just try accept that not going to be able to get much. Unfortunately, Severe is so far behind that if she does get forward, it's going to be possible for Vayne to tumble in, you know, get the Bilgewater slow and basically ruin Severe's day. So it's going to be really rough for this bot lane at this point. Good flash in by Gargoyle. Able to get a lot of the CC on. It's going to make it difficult. Ahri, our ultimate just comes up. It's going to get her to safety. And Gragas will be able to get out as well. So, not much really going to be able to happen for Empty String right now. Possibly going for a collapse here. Katarina going in a little bit early. Fiddles and Malphite just not quite in position yet. Fiddles ult's going to come up. It should be a dead Morgana, and Gragas is on the wrong side of this wall, but might be able to body slam it. Yep, he'll be able to get away. So good trade, 1 for 1. Worked out really well for Team Patience there, since they were fighting with the 2, still able to get the 1. That's because Katarina went in a little too early for that. So you see Gragas starting to lean down towards the bottom side. He will have his ultimate, and this is going to be really important for if they can get a kill onto Cyber Sage right now. Otherwise, this is just going to keep snowballing out of control. They've managed to get the Nami really low, but she's on the backside, and Gragas just is too scared to go in for good reason. You know, Cyber Sage has a ton of farm, which is going to make this very difficult. However, getting to shove Nami out of lane does open up possibilities for Dragon. Good char on the Fiddlesticks, going to get a lot of damage, which is going to make it even scarier for him to try and contest. I like how they are pulling this out of the pit. Means that it's going to be harder for them to jump over the wall. However, Vayne is here and is threatening. But with just Vayne, there's only so much you can do. Good catch on the Fiddlesticks. Just got a little too far forward on that Morgana biting. Makes it so easy to keep him there, finish him off with the rest of the single target CC that Patience does have. So now that we have the first frag in, that helps bring it in a little bit more in line for Team Patience. However, the big threat on the board is still there. That Vayne up 60 CS is completely dominating that Severe. So unless something can be done to you know, get Severe farm elsewhere, get something to shut down that Vayne, this will snowball very quickly into that mid lane or mid game Vayne that has a lot of power with the fighting, especially with the strong protection of that Maokai, of that Nami. Maybe it will make it somewhat difficult. So tempo-wise, we're approaching 14 minutes into the game. The first dragon has finally been taken. What a lot of the teams are starting to look for now is, as we're transitioning away from the laning phase, is wanting to get those collapses around towers. It's definitely very possible to start doing some of those tower dives. We have. I like this bringing 4 people down here. It's going to make this tower really easy. And if anyone stays behind, they're probably dead. So Thresh, goodbye. I don't think you're going to be able to survive this. Oh, bows the flash, which will get him to safely. Katarina chooses smartly not to dive the tier 2, especially because there is the unknown possibility of the support in the way of Gragas, which would make that dive very difficult. But first tower does go over to Empty String. Vayne is going to be able to go back to picking up CS by a little more. Gargalor burning out. Will barely survive. 7 HP. Oh, that must feel rough for that Ahri. Almost enough for that Luden's Echo to start getting a little more burst potential, which will be really needed against that Vayne, because if the Vayne does not die fast, she'll be able to deal out tons of damage with the Borg starting to get a little more attack speed. We'll be able to proc the percent damage fairly quickly, which is going to make it fairly easy for her to deal with the tanks. Especially with having 116 CS 15 minutes in. Things are looking really good for Empty String. Yari is trying to get damage onto Shaper. Might have enough, can hit. Oh, flashes the binding away. If that had hit, that could have spelled for a dead tree. But the good sustain of the magical shap is able to help keep him in lane. Garius, though, hoping that Shaper continues to push out and go for that follow-up kill. But Shaper's looking at a fairly strong amount of sustain, which would make that difficult, and he's just going to let that CS push into tower. So top lane should have a pretty good idea of where Shaper went, so I'd like to see them start to push that in, possibly try and, force the Maokai teleport, or at least would if it was off cooldown. Deny some of that farm. I like this play from Empty String to try and push in the middle tower. They have the bot lane already, so they're letting that slow push up, knowing that they don't need to have Vayne just, farm for late game, trying to push that early game advantage. And look for these fights around towers. The other thing I would really like to see is try and get some of those hooks, those charms onto those Vayne, because unless those land, Patience really isn't going to have much option for a fight. Yeah, they get the catch on the Nami, but Nami is not the target they need to be killing. And apparently it's not the target they can kill either. CC abilities miss, lets Vayne come up a little bit closer, get a little more damage onto that tower. Dragon in 1 minute. Empty String has fairly good coverage of that. There's not quite as much as I would like to see from Team Patience there. Then again, the dealing with that losing bot lane is making it very difficult for Severe to get the farm, as well as it becomes a lot more dangerous to push in deep wards, because if you ever get a chance where Vayne can collapse on you, that's going to be a lot of damage being dealt out, possibly a death, and it's just not worth the risk to get that Vayne any further ahead. Cyber getting a little cheeky with that tower, almost able to take it down. But not quite yet. Hopefully they will start moving towards the dragon suit that is spawning shortly. Patience is shoving them a little bit out of position, especially with that Morgana able to apply that pressure top lane, which is drawing the Maokai away. So with the TP advantage, Morgana can teleport in if needed. And Empty String will get the crab, which will make it a lot safer, especially with being on blue side. You know, you want to be able to run away depending on where everyone runs in. Morgana's going to be teleporting in. We do have a potential 5v4 on our hands, but they just do not have the engage tools yet to collapse onto Empty String. Maokai, rather than following, is going to be opting to push in that tower, get as much damage on that as possible. And then Patience is going to be responding, taking that mid lane tower, but that is going to be giving up Dragon that Empty String can just take for free. Well, for their mid lane anyways. However, they should be getting the, yes, they do get the top in reply, so Dragon for free, mid lane for top lane is a pretty good trade at this point. Helps bring them, or keep them, you know, about 3k ahead. So that's going to translate, most of that being on the ADC, so you know, we can see that Cyber Sage is, you know, a full item ahead, you know, has a little over 1,000 gold for when he goes back next to, so he'll be able to pick up some more goods, which will, you know, continue to snowball into the mid game for a very, very scary Vayne. So Empty String now has all of the outers out, so what I'd like to start seeing is, you know, pushing in, you know, trying to get some of those fights now that they've hit some of their power spikes, and get fights in Patience's jungle, force them into having to rotate between towers, and then just using the gold advantage to get those fights going. Of course, you know, wanting Vayne needs to go back by, get the next item with the gold advantage that she does have before that becomes possible. So at this point, it may be a little while before we have our next fight breaking out. Good side wave control from Empty String. Keeping the waves pushed past their river. But good defensive boarding from Team Patience is going to make the invades a little bit more difficult. We could have something happening up top. Ahri is going to just face into that Malphite. Yars is going to get a good double ult onto Stealth. Doesn't quite proc off, but it's still going to be enough damage from the Ahri and Gragas to kill it. Shaper's going to have to try and disengage, and it looks like he'll be able to. Good collapse from Team Patience. You know, Empty String had gotten a little cocky there, disrespecting the catch capability of Team Patience. Vayne managing to pick up most of a Phantom Dancer. Going to be continuing to push out the spot lane, keeping that farm, you know, about 70 CS ahead. But I'd like to see which. Oh, the Arias, unfortunately, you know, you've pushed too far up. Getting collapsed on. That should be a dead Morgana. There's not going to be much that Gragas can do. Oh, the disengaged barrel, but the bounce, oh, goes over to the cannon, and Yarius on the lucky bounce is going to be able to maybe escape. Arcane Smash just shy of it, and Morgana will be getting out of there. Good play by Yarius, and a really, really unlucky bounce for Fiddlesticks there, going over to the cannon minion instead of to Morgana, which would have killed her. Oh, good threat hook onto Cyber Sage. It's going to deal a lot of damage. Forces him to burn his flash in order to stay alive. Ahri trying to go in, but the exhaust is going to prevent her from dealing her assassination damage. Both teams are just going to disengage, which works out fairly well for Team Patience. Another charm hit followed up by the binding, and that is going to be a dead fish. Yari's falling out. Oh, the stun is just half a second away from proccing onto Cyber Sage. That was a good disengage from Maokai to prevent that follow-up. Well, they definitely had the rough early game. The Patience is definitely using the CC advantage that they have to try and get some of those catches as people overextend, become, you know, easily catchable. Because, you know, you land one CC and it becomes, you know, very easy for them, you know, the next one to land. You get a binding and then you follow up with the charm, and then half a second later you get that hook landing, and, you know, before you know it, that's 2 or 3 seconds of being stuck in the front line as a squishy target, and with characters like Severe and Ari, and just able to deal a ton of damage and finish it off. And oh, going too far forward though. Morgana and Thresh, goodbye. You have been deleted. That's really poor timing too, with the dragon just about to spawn. This should be a free dragon for Empty String. Morgana's not going to be able to make it back in time. She does not have the teleport. Neither does Maokai. However, Maokai is in the area. On the plus side, Team Patience does have good vision of the area, so they will be able to see when Team Empty String does go for this. If they go for it, they should. Given that, you know, they know Morgana, Thresh, they have the death timers, they aren't going to be able to make it back in time for it to spawn. Patience making a good call, just seeding the dragon, having Ari push through top, try and get a tower in response.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
Cat is looking to try and punish that Ari, but oh, Gragas a little too far forward, aggro's the Baron, but defense items, that doesn't do too much just yet. Got a little far forward, but nothing to worry about from the enemy team, although the lack of wards is a little concerning. So, Patience, they managed to keep in the game even with how far down their ADC is. They have one more outer turret that they're going to need to shove out that bottom lane. However, as we are getting into, you know, mid 20 minutes into the game, you know, Baron starts becoming a viable target. So what an Empty String should recognize that, you know, that bottom turret is that low-hanging fruit. So try and get the vision around Baron and be willing to trade that bot lane outer for the Baron. Because, you know, once you get two members showing in the bot lane, you know, especially with that Fed Vayne, that percent health damage just deals so much to Baron. That if you can get the vision control there, wait for, you know, 2 people to show in bot lane, and if you have the pressure, you know, oscillating between mid and top, you can just fall back right onto the Baron, and either they have to engage you, you know, in a 3 or 4v5, or you just get it for free. However, Patience is going to be looking to catch in. Good flash out by Nami, however, is not going to be quite enough because there's just enough members of Team Patience to get that. Vayne is going to be continuing to push in, but Spear wanting to try and shove that off. Vayne unfortunately does not have the vision to know that it is still safe to keep shoving that in. Really good effort here by Team Patience to keep their blue side jungle warded. Makes it easy to tell if Empty String is walking through there. And we do see a little bit of that starting to get ward up, however, with that being a pink and Cat being alone, decides to play it safe, not go for it. So Vayne is doing a good job keeping pressure, knowing that if that Severe ever comes out from underneath tower, that Vayne can duel her with ease. Morgana, though, going to try and get some pick. Vayne has been staying there for some time. Excellent binding! That's going to be enough to take out that Vayne, which should let Severe start pushing that out very safely. Either that or start rotating over here, because the Severe ultimate is one of the best engage tools that Team Patience have, especially with all of the single targets you see. Yeah, you can use the Severe ultimate to run forward, and then get in range for, you know, a hook, a bind, or a charm. And once any one of those land as you're shoving through, you know, force the rest of the team off and get a lot of damage. So there's the bind, there's the follow-up with the hook. And that's a dead sticks. So Patience acknowledging that they lost a lot of that early game, but doing a really good job playing around the advantages that they have in the team fight, playing around those single target picks, and doing a great job with a lot of the vision to enable that. Able to get the first inner turret of the game. Dragon is going to be spawning in less than a minute. Would have liked to see a little more wards being dropped as they left. You know, once you're pushed in that far, that's the best chance to drop your deep wards. You know it's safe. You know what's behind you is safe. And putting those in then opens you up for in the future. Empty String going for that Baron, knowing that everyone had just backed. And great use of the pinks to know that it is empty. Gragas is here. Could be going for that 50-50. Empty String is still going for it. Down to 1800 health, almost in range. Yaris is going to kill onto Nami, however, counter-picked onto Morgana. A good hook, however, not enough follow-up damage as Ahri was not there. Baron does get picked up by the Fiddlesticks. Good Fiddle's backing up into a hidden area, able to ult down, deal a ton of damage. Ahri able to finish up a lot, but however, it is going to be ended up trading 3 for 3. However, Baron does go over to Team Empty String, so net win for them. However, they aren't going to be able to get anything else out of that, but with having 2 up with the Baron, it is going to give them a lot of sidewave pressure, especially since it's going to be on their top laner with teleport. So Maokai's going to be able to sit in one of those side lanes, start getting those side lane pressure, while the rest of the team will be able to start pushing up mid or top or, you know, opposite side lanes. And that's going to force Patience to try and dive into them. Unfortunately, Patience does have some of those tools. You know, they have the good wave clear from the Ahri, from the Severe, as well as, you know, if someone is alone and they do get caught by that single target CC, particularly if it is, you know, the Fiddles, basically anyone but Maokai, there's a good chance that they will die from that single target CC. And Patience has been doing a really good job of targeting that. So we do see both teams trying to group up around the Dragon. Looks like they're trying to push each other out through the river. Looks like Empty String will gain the respect of that, knowing that they do have the Baron, they do have the tank. However, going around for that pick, they hit onto the Vayne, but the Gragas ult knocks him back into safety. But Ahri is able to dive past that front line, get the kill. But Fiddles is able to do the same onto that Sphere. Both ADCs are down. And Stealth Lord able to start getting their resets. And this looks like this could be a clean ace. Or not clean, but almost ace for Team Empty String. Good usage of the Katarina resets. Gragas wants to force that off, but not quite able to do so. So, third Dragon will be going over to Team Empty String. They still have 2 more before the 5th Dragon power spike's going to hit. The Baron should be fading off here shortly. It's not going to get too much value out of that. However, there are the 2 side lanes that Patience is going to have to respond to, which is going to open up a very small window in the mid lane. But it looks like they are instead going to opt to clear out their jungle, get farm, and just, you know, wait for the next major objectives. Gragas is going to get caught out, does have to use the flash, but will get to safety. And Empty String starting to get that deep ward coverage again. Well, Vayne going on a solo mission in the bot lane. Unfortunately, doesn't have complete ward coverage. There's a couple of routes that Patience could get to her. Looks like Morgana is moving along one of those, but Vayne definitely playing it a little bit safe and unsure of what exactly could happen. Binding is going to miss. Good tumble away by Vayne. But because they've now seen the two, actually 3 members through the ward, they know that it's safe. At most, it's a 4v2 on that top side. So they should be able to push through, get that tower. And Vayne manages to get one in a 1v2. Not sure how many Vayne spotting points that is, but she does die for it. Fiddle's able to do a lot of damage, however, he's going to eventually fall. Elio just barely able to making it out alive. Chip will get the retribution kill, and Cat. Ooh, there's some juicy resets available. No flash though. Let's see. Nom Nom is going to get available in range, and they have just enough minions. They will be able to get that. However, Severe on the off the Vayne kill is going to be pushing that in and giving, as an ADC, you have a lot of damage to towers. So that's going to be enough minion waves that at least Team Page could have answered, but is choosing not to, instead opting to play for safety, as well as, more importantly, play to protect that inner turret. Spear starting to get some good damage out. Yara is trying to go for the bind onto the fish, but she's able to flash out in time. And it looks like Empty String will just be able to get that inner turret and just a little bit of damage onto that inhibitor turret. So if another one of those fights breaks out, it could go poorly for Team Patience. Patience is going to be, manages to get the bind. Unfortunately, it's onto the Maokai, the tankiest member of the team. Thresh Hook is going to land, and Severe is there, and she has the damage to deal a lot of damage. Forces the flash, however, Vayne is now in range. And Vayne able to dodge out a lot of that CC. Fiddle's coming in. And forcing flashes, and that's Vayne getting the double kill on Thresh. So now they have the advantage. The only objectives up are the main tower, so I would hope to see them starting to push that in. A little bit of a possible signature flash. Fortunately, Elio not able to hit any abilities to take advantage of the early Zonias. So a lot of the CC, single target CC for Patience is down, so it makes it a lot safer for this Vayne to come in and start auto-attacking the turret. However, Morgana is going to be coming up soon. We have Baron in 30 seconds, Dragon in a minute. And it looks like Patience is opting to get a little more vision and control around that Baron. They don't have as much around the bot side, and they do have big wave for Empty String pushing up bot, which is going to make it very safe for Empty String to push through to the Baron, try and get some of their own vision down around it, clear out some of the vision of Team Patience, as well as push through the mid and the top lane, where they are threatening to break the base right now. So both teams are positioning nicely around it. I believe each of them is aware of the general position of the other. However, moving around the Baron, it does mean that Patience did lapse on the Dragon Vision. So good call on Empty String to come down here as it spawns, take out that dragon, get number 4, and they are now threatening number 5. So, you know, within 6 minutes, if Patience hasn't managed to secure a lead elsewhere, they are going to be having to deal with that 5 dragon threat. And Ahri getting caught, getting almost bubbled out, is going to be dropped to the wave. Good binding from Yarius, however, Vayne just does so much damage. Yeah, Morgana just, unfortunately, she has really good sustained damage, really good team damage, but her single target burst, you know, it's nowhere near what you would get from, you know, like Ahri's, Lyssandra's, that sort of thing. She's so not able to duel that Vayne very effectively. She's much better served in these team fights. Especially when she can get the binding, has a lot of that really strong follow-up. Gragas getting caught out, Shaper doing a really great job of tanking up the front line of that spear. Really just buying time for that Vayne now that speaking up Morgana to just push up that lane. Either someone's going to have to deal with it, or they're going to have to reinforce to make it an even fight in the top lane. Shaper looking for an opportunity to go on to spear. But play it safe, gets the turret, go onto the Thresh, who's now gets stuck out of position, gets dropped fairly easily. And opt to play it safe rather than risk going for the inhibitor with one low member. Vayne going in deep, flashes for it, hits it. Vayne will be able to solo, take out a couple people, and get the bot in here while the rest of the blue team is going to be taking out that top inhibitor. And with both side lanes inhibitors down, it's going to become very difficult to contest that Baron or protect that mid lane. I think the best call right now is going, in fact, for that Baron right now. While there are all of those minions flowing into the base. Hater trying to go for Cyber Sage, but Vayne just able to chunk him out with that percent HP damage. It just doesn't matter how much health he has. He just doesn't have the, you know, Randuin's or Frozen Heart to slow down that minion attack speed, to slow down that Vayne damage. And Empty String able to clear out vision. Opting not quite to start it in yet, wanting to wait a little bit longer to give the chance for those super minions to start rolling into the red side base. So I think we could here see the last fight of the game coming up. Big cash onto the Nami. However, that's not the main source of damage, so cover charm onto Cyber Sage is going to be able to take him down, and Ahri dashing out a little too close. Cat able to get a bunch of the resets with a double kill, and then Shaper just should be able to follow up. We'll be able to clean off that Severe, and with just Gragas alive, slowly getting whittled down by the support and jungler. This definitely opens up the Baron opportunity for Empty String, especially with the super minions. They're just starting to roll into the base. You know, Gragas, he can try for the steal, but if he does, you know, he will die for it, and he may or may not get it. So it'll be the 50-50. But during all of this time, we can see the super minions are starting to beat onto the Nexus turrets, and they are taking a fair bit of damage. And this Baron is going down slowly without Vayne, which really works out in Empty String's favor because it's forcing this Gragas to just wait here a little bit longer, spend a little more time here not protecting the base. And Blue manages to secure it, not with the smite, but with the Nami bubble. And Gragas does try and go in. Cat is able to pick up the kill, and Morgana is finding herself a little bit exposed. Without flash just yet, still just a couple seconds out. Now with the Baron, it should just be one more last push before Team Empty String can finish out this game. One last inhibitor is standing in the way. They do have a few more minutes of Baron. You know, if they can't get it here, they have the 5th dragon coming up in 20 seconds. Super minions coming in from the side. Just one Nexus turret left. And you know, as long as that tree is standing in the way, it's very difficult to get to this phase, which is the main threat. Poppy on the hunt, trying to go in. However, a lot of the damage is getting soaked up by the Maokai. Ahri trying to go in, but it's not enough damage at this point with the Baron buff, getting all the extra damage from the 2 Katarina today and able to burst her down. And that is going to be the game. Team Empty String, 3-0 in the tournament. One more round, let's see if they can go 4-0. All right, we are entering into picks and bans for the final game of the League of Legends weekend tournament. Um, the standings at this time are as follows. We have, oh, let's see if I can. Oops. We have Empty String in first place, Team SOS in second, Patrons in third, Dank Horse in fourth, Hypebot in fifth, and Salt in sixth. So this game is going to be between the first seed Empty String, or first place Empty String, and fifth place Hypebot. Empty String has defeated SOS, Patience, and the Dank Horse, so the highest available challenger for them is Hypebot. So we can see if Hypebot can pull up an upset here. Looks like we have some pretty targeted bans against Cephasmar. He really enjoys playing Kayle, really enjoys playing the Vel'Koz. So we should see him bumped off to a little less comfortable champion. However, he is still a really strong player, so hopefully he'll be able to pull out something interesting. From the red side, we do have the Warwick again targeted at Gargalor as that Warwick main, as well as Jinx and Vayne targeted away from Cyber Sage to hopefully prevent him from, going into that late game carry that we've seen earlier in the tournament. So we see the first pickup of Katarina for Fourth Sistar. We saw really good success with that last game of being able to clean up a lot of the fights as things start to get really messy. We have an early pickup of Caitlyn for safe bottom lane um, for Hypebot, and it looks like that's going to expire, and we will get Aurelia locked in. I believe it's going to be Cephas in their top lane, but I'm not entirely sure. We'll find out here in just a moment. But Aurelia and Caitlyn, really strong champions in terms of their, fighting capabilities, their dueling. So hopefully that'll be able to create some split push pressure, particularly from that Aurelia. She's really strong at being able to take towers, and if she can get ahead, we'll have a lot of capability to just run through lanes and take objectives. So we're seeing a pretty similar comp to last game from Team Empty String. We do see the Fiddles in the jungle, although we will see a Morgana this time, likely coming in as the support. Not as much CC coming up yet from Team Hypebot, but Morgana still provides really good pick capabilities, as well as the Black Shield to protect whatever ADC Cyber Sage ends up taking, making it a lot easier for him to run those hyper carries that he has been enjoying this weekend. So what I would like to see from Hypebot at this point would be something that would enable Aurelia to run that kind of split push, to be able to grow into that monster can just take objectives. So get some of that disengage from it. Looks like they'll be running Galio, given the 3 AP threat so far from Team Empty String. As well as Sejuani. Sejuani does have a little bit of disengage in terms of her ultimate, as well as that really strong engage pressure of it. So, we've seen her, picked or banned a bunch this tournament, so it's not surprising to see that getting picked up for Hypebot, as well as with the Galio. Is going to provide a lot of AoE wombo combo team fight pressure for Hypebot. Let's see if they'll be able to turn that around. However, with the Morgana shield, that's going to make it a little bit harder to then use that onto the Tristana. So she'll be able to survive one or two of those big abilities and be able to use her rocket jump to get into a better position for the fight. So we're just waiting on last pick support, which I believe what the ... is going to be supporting for Hypebot. I really would like to see something like Janna, something like, oh, Victor getting locked in. Not sure if that's a proxy. Nope, everyone is letting this tick down, so it looks like these are the teams. So we have, I guess that's a Galio support. Interesting. Um, so that's going to be really brutal for Nya in the early game. Galio has some of the strengths of being able to um, lock out the entire team down with that ultimate, but his early game I fear is going to be pretty weak in terms of being able to do any kind of poke. It's going to be very, very much dependent on what the dot 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 to land those abilities, as they come up on cooldown to chunk out Cyber Sage before he can start diving in, especially with the Morgana, that the being able to lock down one of the other bot lanes is going to get very difficult for Hypebot if can't get that poke out. So it looks like we are going to have Gunzip on Aurelia in the top lane. That is going to be against Shaper of Chaos. So Aurelia, has a very, very strong um, dueling capability, especially once she gets to level 3 or 4. And with both of them being melee, they'll want to be careful for the potential for the all-in from Aurelia, especially once reach the points where we get the Sejuani gigs. That has some very strong kill potential there for Hypebot. Maokai though is really good at farming, really good at pushing. And has some really good sustain, so should be able to outlast that. But if Aurelia gets going, it could be very scary for Hypebot. In the mid lane, we have Cephasmar, who very strong player up against Stealthort's Katarina. Katarina maybe not the best choice against the diamond level Cephasmar, but we'll see. It's a big risk, Cotton. We'll see if it pays out for him. And then in the bot lane, um, I definitely have to. I feel like Empty String got the advantage out of picks and bans here with that bot lane. Galio just isn't gonna be that strong until the mid game when he can get a couple of MR items, as well as unlock his ultimate. Um, as for comp wise, Empty String is really AP heavy. Their one AT is the Tristana. If Hypebot can shut down the Tristana, that'll open up a lot more options for them, as they have a bit more of the mixed damage on their team, and can just build the MR, especially with the Galio. Galio loves building MR, but if Tristana gets ahead, it's going to become very problematic for Hypebot. So I would like to see Empty String focus their resources, try and make sure that Cybersage gets ahead, recognize that they do have the advantage early game with running up against a Galio support. Even if it is against a Caitlyn who has that early game bully capability, Morgana with the binding has a lot of potential to go in. And Fiddles has some of that CC just to follow up. So hopefully we can see some of that. So And then I'd say their win conditions is based around, just keep getting those solo laners ahead and wanting to go for those good team fights. Whereas for Hypebot, they have really strong AoE. They're really good at wave clearing, protecting under towers. And then Aurelia is an incredibly strong split push threat, especially with that teleport. So either waiting for a 2v1 to go onto Aurelia, and then using the strong engage of the Sejuani and Victor. Less the Victor, but using that Sejuani Strong Gauge to win a 4v3, or let Aurelia duel in a 1v1, and hopefully she should be able to win that out. All right, so we're loading into game. Oh man, light skins this game. Just the Victorious Morgana and Totemic Maokai. Alright, so early game, we have the Morgana Maokai on one side, which is really good at dealing out a lot of damage. Maokai, of course, is going to want to get set up to get the level 1 camp, but really strong with that early fight with Morgana. It looks like, however, the blue side is going to opt for that 5-point defense. Understanding that they don't need to play for early game cheese in order to have a chance to win. Hypebot, on the other hand, is just going to be running straight through, straight onto a ward, and they will get spotted out rather quickly. Maokai just going in, get a little extra vision. I am not
30
particularly
seconds until minions spawn.
fond of that ward. I feel like it could be out a little bit further just to see down the river more, or in the bush to see when they pass through. But Shaper opting to start with the wolves, and Fiddle's going to be going starting on his own with the Gromp. But, you know, Fiddles has incredibly strong sustain, so he should be able to do that without a problem. And it looks like Morgana and then Trist are going to be starting on the
Minions have
Krugs.
spawned.
So 3 camps getting taken right off of the bat for the blue side. Will give a big advantage in lanes, specifically for that Maokai, make it a lot easier for him, you know, to deal with that early game pressure of the Aurelia. And Fiddles with the Drain, having no problem soloing that out. And it looks like Cyber and Sith are opting just to take the small Krugs, meaning that they will get into lane just in time to get the experience for the first minion and have a little bit of XP, so they should hit level 2 first. Especially with the extra pushing power that, you know, that Tristana provides. The explosive shot, you know, as your last hit, it deals that extra damage all around. Not only making it a little hard, but it's that automatic pushing. So there's that very little that Galio can offer, because, you know, he is a melee support, so he can't get as many of his auto attacks off. He is very reliant on being able to hit his abilities. His abilities can do a fair amount, but if those miss, that opens up a huge window for Cyber and Sith Star to go in, start trading, especially if then Sith Star can hit a binding. Let's see, let's get lanes updated. There we go. So far, CS is fairly even. Shaper just happily falling away. Small little skirmish working out in the top lane. Looks like that's going to go in Shaper's favor, especially because you know, he has a lot of the sustain. You know, not only does he have the charges on the flask, but Maokai has his passive of the magic sap will keep him healthy in lane as spells are getting cast. Caitlin's doing a good job of using her auto attacks to bully onto Star. A little less happy with the choice of targets for that, since, you know, Morgana does have the natural lifesteal with the passive, as well as being a support. You always get a little bit more in terms of the items from the biscuits. You know, you have the additional starting health regen. Oh, and Aurelia manages to pick up a solo kill onto Maokai. Maokai not really chugging his potions during that fight. Didn't quite have the health to deal with that. And Aurelia manages to keep a freeze. So that is that's going pretty well for Hypebot. And a good catch out onto Sith Stealth Lord. Seth is, or no, that is going to be Sejuani getting the kill on that. And then a good dump of all of those minions into the tower, meaning that Zephys is going to be having a 19 CS lead, which is going to be quite a fair bit of damage at this point early in the game. So definitely a strong early start here for Hypebot. Is going to give them a pretty good shot in this game. And one of the things that's interesting about this is the second and third place teams are currently playing each other. So based on the results of this game, if Hypebot does win, Empty String could be pushed from first, depending on the tiebreaker, since there will be 2 3-1 games. Though I guess the direct score results will be the same, because regardless. Yeah. Anyways. So farm is still fairly even in this bot lane. And Sejuani is hanging around mid again, hoping to continue getting Victor fed. You know, Victor is definitely the best player on their team. And if he can get ahead, he should be able to easily snowball this lane. It's already going pretty one-sided, you know, Cat having to go into melee range in order to get those kills is going to make it fairly difficult for him to go up the farm. Sejuani does have him managed to find Fiddle. Seth is going to flash for it, drop the ult, and there goes Fiddlesticks. There is a second kill there pickup for the Sejuani Victor combination, which is definitely helping to put Hypebot further ahead. So otherwise, there's not really a whole lot going on just yet. Things that I'm hoping to see soon is starting to get some pressure around Dragon here. You know, both these bot lanes are fairly even. Blue side is fairly healthy, so they're going to be able to, you know, if a fight does break out, they'll be able to follow in a Fiddlesticks, especially now that he is level 6. We'll see where that Crow Storm does come out at. He is near top side, so it could be towards the Aurelia, but that's going to be a little tricky with the tenacity gain that Aurelia does have for being around those multiple champions. However, Aurelia is going in on the Maokai and doing pretty well for herself in that trade. So it looks like bot lane's pinging out where wards are. We could expect a Sejuani gank in soon. However, they do take notice of the ward being placed. They know where Sejuani is at. Which makes it easier for Shaper to potentially go in if he wanted to. Fiddles is still just farming up the jungle. Bot lane is going to be going back. They have enough. We'll be starting to get those first major items. And that should be back when they get back into lane. Should be in time for Fiddlesticks to be reaching that bot lane. Possibly start looking at a gank, and depending on that, either going for Dragon. Fortunately, they don't have vision of this back happening, although it should be pretty easy to intuit, which is going to give a small window if Empty String did want to go for the Dragon. It doesn't look like they are going to be opting to, though. Victor, 40 CS up, is able to shove Katarina out of lane. So, gold lead has extended to 2k for Hypebot. Fiddles is forced to soak that CS under tower. Cephas just harasses for days. So, both bot laners coming back with BF Sword and Boots. It looks like Caitlyn was able to get just a little bit more. Galio has hit his level 6, so if Cyber does get a little too far forward, that Galio will be able to come in, ult them, keep them in position, and make for a really strong gank if Sejuani is around. It looks like there's going to be pressure coming up towards this top side. Shaper is fairly low. Doesn't know about the Victor just yet. But that should be a dead Maokai here shortly. Yep. He goes down. Good aggro juggling. Sejuani picking it up with all the extra armor. And with the knowledge of how many there were top, Uside makes the right call, goes for Dragon. Doesn't look like Hypebot is going to be sticking around for the objective though. They're just going to be happy with the 300, 450 or so gold from the kill. And Fiddles is able to smite that out, pick that up. But the ... has to flash away, and Tristana is starting to go in deep. Getting a little risky. And it looks like they are able to barely just get out, although Aurelia, following up with a good flash dash, is able to finish that off. Fiddlesticks trying to get a little extra damage onto it, but Aurelia is just doing some work this game. Turning around, Shaper is going to get caught out. He's going to fall. Katarina's trying to get some cleanup, but it's not going to be enough. Or is it? Nope. Sejuani is going to be surviving that. Good cleanup there from Hypebot, able to get 4 for nothing. Empty String was able to get the dragon, but I'm not sure if it was worth it for that many return kills onto Hypebot. They are now 5k ahead at 12 minutes in, and with this kind of gold lead, it could easily start snowballing out of control for the red side. Hypebot is able to pick up their first turret, which is going to open up the map quite a bit. Yeah, these middle turrets are just really important for being able to move through the map, you know, because you can push it up, then you could walk through safely. It becomes a bit more dangerous to get some of those more forward wards because you don't have that tower that you can fall back to provide that extra protective damage. So let's see, gold-wise, most of the lead does look like it is, you know, 1,800 ahead on Aurelia, about 2,000 ahead on Victor. ADCs, there's only about 500 point difference, but, you know, Caitlyn getting those 4 assists is more than enough to start pushing her ahead. So, how does Empty String get back into this game? So what I think they need to be doing is focusing on, you know, not eating any more kills to Victor. Victor's there, gotta respect the sheer amount of burst that he has. You know, 302, over 100 farm. He's gonna be dealing a lot of damage. So trying to focus on some team fights, try and get, you know, some fights, 4-man roams, bot lane, possibly, you know, some 3-man roams onto Aurelia. But, you know, try and make sure to notice where Victor is. Make sure you get those river wards so that if Victor leaves lane, they can know. Looks like we're going to have a possible dive in onto Cephalus in the mid lane, but he's dealing enough damage that that's going to just chunk Stealth Lord out, and Gargalor does not want anything to do with that. Unfortunately, Aurelia's here, is able to slow him down. The charge doing too much damage so that it doesn't stun him, but still, it's enough to shove him out of lane. They have the minions here. They'll probably be able to get some damage down onto the tower with the 3v1. And things are just continuing to go Hypebot's way.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
That is another kill in the middle turret. I mean, that's usually one of the easiest ones to be able to defend. So for Hypebot to get it this early is gonna bode really well, especially since there's gonna about to be 5-man diving onto bot. They're gonna try and get away, but I think it's just too little, too late. Morgana gonna get caught out, and Cyber Sage getting dropped low, taken out under tower, and there's just so much damage coming out here that there's just nothing that that Empty String can do. So big thing that Hypebot is going to be wanting to do here is they're going to be wanting to look to close out this game. Make sure that they aren't going to be dropping kills. Want to make sure that they stay together. At this point, with how far ahead all of their team is, there's not going to be as much of a need for that Aurelia to split push. However, given she's 6-0, doing well on farm, she can go sit on her own in any of these lanes. No one can really duel her outside, or except for underneath the tower. Has that Trinity Force starting to work towards something else. It's tons of damage that Aurelia is going to be dealing out whenever she's going to be pushing out in lanes, and that lets the Wombo combo of Hypebot, push out some of these side lanes, push out for objectives, and Empty String is going to need to look for opportunities to outnumber Hypebot. If they're not outnumbering them, preferably at least by 2, there's going to be very little chance of them being able to win a fight. And Victor is starting to run towards that bot lane, but Morgana and Tristana, knowing that they don't have Vision of Victor, decide that play it safe. But 10k lead, 17 minutes in. That is going to be incredibly difficult to come back from. It looks like they didn't have the Timer Dragon before, but they do notice it spawning up now. And this should be a pretty easy and safe pickup for Hypebot. It looks like they are going to play it safe, though. Wait for Victor and Sejuani to arrive before starting it up. Alright, and it's another nail in the coffin. This push mid here is a little ballsy. There's no inner turret, and the inhibitor turrets are still very difficult to tank this early in. The minions will drive fairly quickly, especially with some of the AoE that Empty String has. It's not phenomenal AoE, but it is enough this early in the game. What I'd like to see, which they're doing now, is start rotating up, get this top tower, get this top outer tower, open up some of the positionings in case of being able to Baron, being as far up as they are. There's no point in just leaving objectives up on the map. And this flank is great positioning here, because if they try and go and save under the tower, Sejuani or Galio has more than enough health to be able to tank up that tower. They have the damage there from Victor, Caitlyn, as well as Aurelia is a really strong threat from the other side. This is looking really scary for Empty String. But Hypebot deciding to play it safe, knowing that they can just keep soaking up the farm. They're not losing anything by everyone just sitting under tower, and are able to just scare them out and hit the tower. So Nya is noticing that there's this big farm wave up bot. He's going to pull him away from the fight. They don't want to give up those towers. They could be going for the perfect game, but they did manage to give up a dragon early. Sorry, Hypebot, you don't get the completely crushing victory. Only the majorly crushing victory. Assuming that you can finish this out, which I have pretty high confidence that that'll be the case. Sorry, Empty String. So the other thing I want to call out that's really good is the vision control over on this side of the map. It's going to be impossible for Empty String to walk into a Baron without Hypebot being able to notice. From lane you have the ward being covered there. From the base gate you have ward in here. This ward's a little bit superfluous. The areas covered are already covered by here and here. It just means that you can see a little more of the navigational data once they are inside that ward ring. Plus, it is a good intermediate area to sniff some of that information out. But it does... Let's see, where are Hypebot gonna be aiming for? Looks like a lot of this fighting is happening over the top side. Hypebot recognizing that Baron could be a possible objective with how far ahead they are, and with the vision that they do have. Instead, they do manage to see Morgana and Maokai trying to chase into position, so they are able to put a bunch more pressure down onto this mid lane. Able to trade out some decent damage. Not quite enough to force anything yet. Morgana flash, the Chaos Storm is going to be enough to secure the kill. It's going to make it a 5v4. This top lane isn't quite pushing for him. Someone's going to have to go back and pick up that creep wave. But once that gets there, 5v4 is going to make it fairly easy to push out onto that tower. Especially with the long range that Caitlyn's going to be providing onto sieging that. Looks like there was a little bit of miscommunication. Sejuani was wanting to dive, but the rest of the team just didn't want anything to do with that, and Empty String manages to get a kill on the board off of Hypebot's miscommunication. Looks like they might be wanting for more, but that's going to be very risky against a Victor. Doesn't have his ult for another 15-20 seconds or so, but once that's up, that's going to be a lot of damage being piled on to Empty String. Catch on the Gallia, unfortunately, that's not the high priority catch target. They really need to be getting that Victor down if they can get anyone. Fortunately, this means they're leaving the Caitlyn alone, but Caitlyn's not going to be opting to push into the inhib. Instead is going to be going for the safer rotational play, try and use the creep here to get the outer turret. There is much less likely to pile up on, but Maokai is going to be burning his TP, save the turret, but that is going to give TP advantage over to Hypebot, and now with the Dragon spawned, they are a little bit out of position, but then again, so is Empty String, so it looks like Hypebot is going to be able to move in time, secure that second dragon. Yep, and they now have the vision control around. It's going to be very difficult for Sejuani to come through and steal. Excuse me, Fiddlesticks. Sejuani's on the other side. And alright, I like this call for going for the Baron here. They have a lot of the advantage, they have a lot of the strength, as well as, they have, the two major path wards that's going to tell me if anybody's coming up here. So it looks like this is going to be for free. Haven't spotted it out, and they're getting wary of death bushes, and it looks like they're going to disengage and free Baron to Hypebot. So with this, I would expect with a 13k lead, they should be able to use this Baron to crack the base. Caitlyn's still in a little bit of what would normally be her power trough, but, still being, 20 CS ahead, a bunch of objectives ahead. 1,500 gold ahead of the equivalent Tristana, is going to be a little bit stronger at this point in the game, even though she is only on the 2 items. But the Infinity Edge Phantom Dancer is going to be more than enough to crack those towers. So it looks like people are just moving to get everything set up into position. You know, the goal being here is if you're wanting to crack into the base, crack any of these towers, you know, you want to get some of the side lanes pushing for you, make it so that someone else has to answer. You know, at this point, Aurelia, with how strong she is, can just go up and just straight duel the Maokai or split push that. You know, especially with building up the Baron wave, it's going to be really strong. Once that crashes into those towers, whereas down here you have incredible kill potential of the Viktor and Caitlyn. Fortunately for them, the rest of Empty Strength hasn't moved into position yet, as these are the 2 juicy targets for Hypebot. And Viktor laying down the pain, and oh, Gargalor just gonna watch Katarina die. Could have saved her, opted not to. But that is going to mean another turret is going to go to Hypebot. There's just the 1 inner remaining. And with the Baron buff, it's going to mean that these cannon minions, not quite spawning every wave just yet. We're still looking at every other until I believe the 35-minute mark. But that's still going to be enough to start getting some damage onto these inhibitor turrets, especially with the long range of Caitlyn. Aurelia just doing some work on the tower, forcing Maokai to come up and deal with it. Hypebot opting to play somewhat passively there, even with their lead, not wanting to go for any kind of throw. Is just gonna keep bouncing the turrets in and back away. Alright, with Cephas low, looks like he's going to be calling off the siege. So good job there to Empty String for preventing any towers from being cracked inside the base. Unfortunately, that is all that is remain. But, you know, I mean, the big thing with Baron is it does make it really easy to start sieging up onto those base towers. So being able to prevent a Baron usage from taking an inhibitor is really worth it for Empty String. Helps keep them in the game for a little bit longer. Next big objective is going to be this dragon fight. And unless Empty String can get a really good fight here, which is going to be very difficult with the wards that Hypebot has in the jungle. It's going to be hard for Empty String to move into position for that, to find any kind of flanking maneuver. You know, for Fiddlesticks to get the kind of advantage that he really does prefer, with being able to ult in from the shadows. You know, I don't think that Empty String's going to be able to get much from it, but that is their next window of opportunity. Hypebot is continuing to keep ward coverage. I do like these lane wards, you know, especially like there's intersections like right here, right here, and right here, where, you know, anyone who's coming through the lanes, you know, to get to other places is where they'll pass through. So, you know, depending on how aggressive you need to be, you can get those really good lane wards that make it a lot harder for the enemy to traverse the map. And a really dense line of wards here for Hypebot. Possibly a little too many, but it's going to make sure that this Baron, or this Dragon, is going to be incredibly secure for them. You know, there's no place that Fiddles can ult in from. There's no place that they can get that kind of flank to get the team fight that Empty String wants. So this will be a secured third Baron for Hypebot. and Empty String opting to try and push in for the tower instead. Hypebot playing a little bit passively. I think they would have been better served to cut them off and go for the fight there. But instead just opting to push back and scare them off the tower. Aurelia looking a little bit out of position, but is able to just walk away from that, given just how far ahead she is. And now Empty String getting pushed away from their middle tower. That Hypebot not opting to push that in. Mostly looking to play for this farm, get it a late game, play it cautiously. Now that they have the lead, not wanting to give that up in any simple mistakes. Good binding. Unfortunately, it's not onto a target they really want to hit. You know, Galio building lots of defensive stats, makes it very difficult to do much in the way of damage to him. And Hypebot, I believe, mostly just waiting for Empty String to come out of their base to fight, not wanting to do the dive, even though, and with they have all of their AoE abilities up. Quite a bit of siege potential here. Caitlyn going onto the tower. That is going to drop, and as mentioned, once that does, turn around. There's the fight. Galio, beautiful flash in for the ultimate. Is going to drop 3 of them. Cyber Sage barely managing to make it out. Shaper trying to do some damage, but he just doesn't have enough. Barely able to survive as it is. And that is going to be the first inhibitor of the game with just Cyber Sage left. And it looks like they're just going to straight tank in onto the towers, try and get as much damage as they can down, but Cyber Sage being there is going to scare them off. And he's going to rocket jump out of that. And first inhibitor, 30 minutes in, is going to be going over to Hypebot. And with the Baron up, looks like they're going to be backing out first, and probably then going to start it up, or no, yeah, it looks like they're gonna wait for their buy window to complete and let some of those supers start flowing into Empty String's base. Hypebot just playing it safe. Now that they've got their buys, they've got a bit more items, a bit more of that strength, looking to get that vision up first, it seems, which is definitely the safe play. Make sure that Empty String doesn't have vision around the Baron, make sure that the paths to the Baron are covered, and then now that this covered, mid's pushing in, you know, top has the supers, it's now incredibly safe for them to turn right back around, do this Baron. If Empty String tries to come in, you know, they're going to be walking over wards, walking completely visible, where, you know, the Sejuani ultimate, the Galio ultimate, just stop it in their tracks. So picking up the Baron, hopefully I'd like to see them go back to sieging that bot. Since the supers are coming in from the top wave, it's going to mean someone's always going to have to answer there. Looks like they're going to go from mid lane, so it's a little bit less travel distance. But, you know, they are 20k ahead, have the Baron, 3 dragons. It's still going to become very difficult for Empty String to defend against this. It's going to be very much reliant on, you know, Fiddlesticks getting a good ult. He's going in, however, he's going to get stopped out by the Galio. Great ultimate there, preventing Fiddlesticks from going in and doing his damage. And it looks like this is just going to be able to be tanked out. Supers are still flowing in from the top lane. Second inhibitor is going to be going down. And this could be game. Sith does manage to block out that ultimate from Cyber. Isn't going to play Fiddlesticks and just watch someone else die. But it's still not going to be enough. The inhibitor turrets are falling. And Nexus is going down, and that is going to be Hypebot taking the upset against Empty String to prevent them from having an undefeated weekend. Everyone's kind of leaving this weekend with a little bit of bruises. And that is the end of that. Let's see. We'll need to get results in from the others. But once that's there, we'll be announcing winners. Let's see. Hypebot managing to make a big jump from 5th to 3rd. All right. I think this is going to be it for the stream. Good games, everyone. I hope everyone had a great weekend, and if you're watching these, I hope you enjoyed watching the games. Take care.